The mahogany conference table gleamed under the fluorescent lights of Conference Room B as I stared at the termination papers in front of me. My hands were steady, but my heart raced as I read the documents that would effectively end my 7-year career at Maxwell Partners. "Just sign here," Rebecca, James said, tapping the bottom of the page with his Mont Blanc pen. "It's for the best, really. My name is Rebecca Chin, and at 32, I was about to be fired from my position as Senior Marketing Director. Not because I'd failed, but because I'd succeeded too quietly. I just landed the Thompson account, a $2 million deal that had taken months of strategic planning and countless late nights to secure. But none of that mattered now. Due to recent restructuring, James continued, his practiced corporate smile never wavering. "Your position has been eliminated." The HR director sat quietly beside him, a manila envelope placed precisely in front of her. I looked up at James's impatient face. The Thompson account projections show a 47% increase in revenue. The strategy I developed, my mother's voice echoed in my mind. "Never let them see you beg, Rebecca." James waved his hand dismissively. "Melissa will handle the transition. She has a more dynamic approach to client relations." Melissa, my junior colleague who spent more time networking at cocktail parties than analyzing market data. The unspoken message was clear. It wasn't about results. It was about flash. I signed the papers, my signature as precise as ever. 7 years of dedication reduced to a severance check and 2 weeks of health insurance. As I stood to leave, James caught my arm. "Rebecca, you're excellent at what you do, but this industry needs people who can command attention. You're just too reliable." Reliable? The word hit like a physical blow. But I didn't flinch. I was used to this, the way they dismissed my achievements because they weren't flashy enough. Melissa was the office firecracker, the one who commanded attention. I was just the one who got things done. That evening, I sat in my apartment overlooking the city, surrounded by the contents of my desk. Among them was a framed photo of the Thompson signing, my biggest achievement at the firm. My phone buzzed with a text from Melissa. "I'm just so sorry about today. Don't worry, I'll take good care of your clients." I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop and pulled up a document I'd been working on for the past year. It wasn't just a business plan. It was a vision for revolutionizing how marketing agencies serve their clients. No more choosing between flash and substance. I would create something that delivered both. The next morning, I walked into my favorite coffee shop earlier than usual. By 7 a.m., I was already meeting with David, my mentor, and the only person I trusted with my real plans. "They did what?" he asked, his espresso cup freezing halfway to his mouth. I explained the situation, keeping my voice professional despite the anger simmering beneath the surface. When I finished, David let out a low whistle. "That's rough, kid. But maybe it's for the best." I raised an eyebrow. "How exactly is losing my job for the best?" He leaned forward, his eyes intense. "Because now you're angry, and in my experience, nothing motivates quite like anger channeled the right way." I thought about his words as he pulled out a business card and slid it across the table. "Remember that venture capitalist I mentioned? The one who's been revolutionizing the marketing technology space? He's in town next week. Maybe it's time you showed him that proposal of yours." I picked up the card, running my fingers over the embossed letters. "Michael Hammond, Horizon Ventures." "You really think it's ready?" David smiled. "Rebecca, I've been in this business 30 years. Your idea isn't just ready, it's revolutionary. The steady paycheck would have been nice. But maybe you need to build this from scratch. Prove to yourself and everyone else what you're really capable of." That evening, instead of updating my LinkedIn profile, I went to my favorite spot in Central Park, the same bench where I'd spent countless lunch breaks sketching out my vision for a different kind of marketing agency. Opening my laptop, I began refining my business proposal. The anger that had been simmering all day transformed into focus, determination. Every dismissive comment, every time they called me reliable like it was a curse, every moment they overlooked my achievements in favor of flash. I channeled it all into my work. By midnight, I had a completely revamped presentation. It wasn't just about marketing anymore. It was about transforming how businesses connected with their audiences. I would create an agency that combined data-driven strategies with powerful storytelling, where substance and style weren't mutually exclusive. My phone had been buzzing all evening with messages from my now former colleagues. Melissa sharing pictures from the client dinner I was supposed to host. James sending a company-wide email about exciting changes in leadership. I ignored them all. The next week passed in a blur of preparation. By day, I took meetings with recruiters, playing the part of the displaced executive seeking her next role. By night, I refined my proposal, ran numbers, and planned my pitch. The morning of my meeting with Michael Hammond, I dressed with particular care, a charcoal suit that projected confidence without trying too hard. As I fastened my grandmother's pearl necklace, her parting gift before she passed, I remember her words. Sometimes, Rebecca, people will underestimate you because you're thoughtful, because you plan before you act. Let them. There's power in being underestimated. Hammond wasn't what I expected. Instead of the aggressive shark I'd imagined, he was a quiet, analytical man who listened intently as I walked him through my presentation. Your model is solid, he said when I finished, but what interests me more is your vision. You're not just creating another agency. You're trying to revolutionize how businesses think about marketing. I nodded, feeling a surge of hope. Everyone talks about the choice between data and creativity, analytics and intuition, but it's a false dichotomy. The best strategies combine both. We're just the first ones willing to build an entire agency around that truth. He studied me for a long moment. You know, most people who come to me are all about the quick win, the flashy exit strategy. But you're playing the long game. Yes, I said simply. I am. He smiled. Good. Because so am I. He pulled out a document from his briefcase. Let's talk numbers. 3 hours later, I walked out of his office with a commitment for $10 million in funding, 5 times what I'd initially hoped for. But more importantly, I had a partner who saw my careful planning not as a weakness, but as a strength. As I headed back to my apartment, my phone buzzed with a text from Melissa. Drinks tonight? The Thompson team wants to meet their new account lead. I typed back my first response in days. Can't. Building something better. Then I turned off my phone, opened my laptop, and started planning my empire. My parents thought they knew me, thought they could predict my every move. James and Melissa thought they had me figured out. They were all about to learn how wrong they were. 1 year after being fired, I stood in an empty office space in downtown Manhattan, surrounded by the bare bones of what would become Inside Edge marketing. The morning sun streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. David, now my COO after leaving his consulting position to join my venture, reviewed the construction plans on his tablet. The contractors start next week, he said. We'll be operational within a month. The development team is all signed. Top talent from Google, Amazon, and some promising startups. Your reputation is already attracting the best. My reputation. It was strange to think how much had changed in a year. Hammond's investment had opened doors, but it was our initial beta testing that had really turned heads. Our unique approach, combining deep data analytics with emotional storytelling, was showing unprecedented results. Word was spreading fast. Have you heard from Maxwell Partners? David asked carefully. I shook my head. After my cryptic text to Melissa, I'd maintained radio silence. They knew I was building something. The industry wasn't that big, but in their world, if you weren't throwing lavish launch parties or winning flashy awards, you didn't register. They'll notice soon enough, I said, turning back to the plans. But first, we have work to do. The next few months were a blur of 18-hour days and endless decisions. I threw myself into every aspect of the business, from fine-tuning our analytics algorithms to personally meeting with potential clients. My apartment became more of a storage space than a home, my life revolving around the office and our growing team. 6 months after we moved into the office, we hit our first major milestone, 50 active clients, with a waiting list growing daily. The Wall Street Journal ran a feature on us, highlighting how we were transforming the marketing industry through our data-driven emotional storytelling approach. That evening, as I was reviewing our latest performance metrics, my assistant knocked on my office door. Ms. Chen, you have a visitor. It's David Thompson. I looked up, surprised. David Thompson, CEO of Thompson Industries, stood in my doorway, looking both impressed and slightly uncomfortable. Last I'd heard, they were still one of Maxwell Partners' biggest clients. Nice place, he said, glancing around my office. Very different from what I expected. What did you expect, David? He shifted, adjusting his tie. Honestly, after you left Maxwell, James said you were starting some small boutique operation. Said you were too analytical to build something substantial. I smiled, remembering James's dismissive wave. And now? Now I'm looking at an operation that's revolutionizing the industry. Our numbers at Maxwell have been dropping. Their new dynamic approach isn't delivering results. We need what you're building here. I leaned back in my chair. The Thompson account was my biggest achievement at Maxwell. I spent months developing that strategy, understanding your market position, creating a plan for sustainable growth. Then they gave it to someone who thought client relations meant expensive dinners and flashy presentations. I know, he said quietly. That's why I'm here. We want to work with you again. But not just for marketing. We want you to handle our entire market transformation strategy. The irony wasn't lost on me. The account that had been on my desk the day I was fired could now become our biggest client. But this time, it would be on my terms. Let me show you what we can do, I said, standing to pull up our latest presentation. It's not just about marketing anymore. We're redefining how businesses connect with their audiences. 3 hours later, David Thompson left my office with a signed contract worth 5 times what the original account had been. As I watched him leave, my phone buzzed with a text from Melissa. Just heard Thompson is shopping for a new agency. Want me to put in a good word? I didn't respond. Instead, I walked to the window, looking out at the city skyline. Tomorrow, the news would break that Thompson Industries had signed exclusively with Insight Edge. Tomorrow, Maxwell and Partners would realize exactly what they'd lost. But tonight, I had work to do. Because this wasn't about revenge. It was about building something revolutionary, something that would change the industry forever.